streets of Brooklyn will be transformed into a Caribbean carnival starting in the pre-dawn hours of Monday morning. And of course, safety and security are a primary concern for the annual West Indian Day Parade festivities. Joining us this morning to talk about it, New York City public advocate and proud West Indian himself, Jumaane Williams. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
So for those who don't know what J'ouvert is, it is really the start of Carnival, and it celebrates the emancipation of Trinidadian slaves. But a million people expected. This has always been a bit of a celebration with controversy because of security.
So J'ouvert, it means daybreak. We want to separate that out from the main carnival itself. But there will be people outside, whether or not there was an official parade or not. There happens to be a parade also on J'ouvert, on Empire. Then later in the day, there'll be the big one where there's about 1 million people who come out. And it's a great celebration of Caribbean culture. A lot of it rooted in, like you said, emancipation of slavery. Yeah,
I mean, you hear a lot of the calypso music. There's so much color. There's a lot of floats out there. But it sometimes gets a bad rap because of the violence, and we've seen instances of shootings where Carrie Gabay died. What are you seeing this year that's going to be different in terms of security?
Yeah, unfortunately, even after Carrie Gabay, Tariq and Tierra were killed in 2016. I want to make sure we lift up their names as well. What I always find interesting is there seems to be a major focus on that weekend, which we all welcome because no one wants that kind of violence. Yeah. But I just remind people that's not even the most violent weekend historically in the summer. Those communities deal with violence on a regular basis, and we have to talk about dealing with the violence all year round, and we shouldn't allow that to prevent people from celebrating their culture. But we did welcome some of the security measures. We've worked with NYPD. We've also worked with community groups, like the Cure Violence groups, like the Clergy Council, who are working with the community to help the community also keep itself safe. And so I think those two things combined have been providing added measures of security, which I think maybe people feel comfortable.
Terrence Monahan, the chief of the department, spoke out yesterday about some new security measures in place. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
The NYPD will be temporarily installing a significant number of cameras across the route. These cameras will provide the command staff with up-to-the-minute visuals of any emergencies as they occur, improving deployment strategies if necessary. Each access point will be illuminated by light towers. There'll be more than 300 light towers in place across the route. There will be mandatory screening for all spectators at each access point.
So do you think that this is more intense than other parades, and is it warranted?
Well, again, so what he's talking about is the official J'ouvert parade, which we separate from the main parade as well, although they're all the same culture. And that's happening on Empire. From about Church Avenue to Empire, there are going to be people outside celebrating J'ouvert. It means daybreak. It's not necessarily associated with any one thing, but there have been, unfortunately, some violence in that area, and we want to work with the NYPD so they can do their job. And we also want to work with the community itself and those community groups, as well as the clergy and the crisis management system, to help the community do it themselves. Just like you see on New Year's Eve, there are checkpoints to go in and out.
We're urging everybody, of course, to be safe. We're going to keep a close eye on that. But while I have you here, I want to talk about the presidential race real quick. Sure. Mayor de Blasio vying to stay in the race, even though he's not qualifying this debate. Do you feel that he has been an absentee mayor because of this, and should he drop out?
Well, kudos to Senator Gillibrand, who just dropped out. I think she did it with dignity, had a great lesson about sometimes you have to learn it's not your time. I've been reluctant to say, because I think everyone has a right to run for office, but I think at the point where you're at a third or so debate and it's clear that you're not going to make it, I think it's time perhaps to call it in, come back home, because there's so many issues that we have to work on here in New York City, and it just takes a lot of time. And I say that almost reluctantly, but I think you have a pretty good metric here to say whether or not, I mean, you can't base a budget based on whether you can win the lotto or not. You might, but I don't think it's a good.
Are you backing anybody? Are you supporting any candidate in particular?
I haven't right now. I'll be making a decision before the election, though.
All right, Jumaane, well, I would hope so. Jumaane Williams, thank you as always for coming by.